Lord Sci-Fi here, and welcome back to a brand new video. And today we're going to be reading The Revenge of the Sith novelization, and we're on chapter 11, is where we left off on last episode of where I did this. It's been a bit since I've done this, and I'm gonna admit this one's I just flipped through the pages. I didn't even read this at all. It's a pretty long chapter. So if you stay to the end, I'll thank you. I'll give you a shout out in my next video. Just comment I stayed. Just comment I stayed till the end, and I will give you a shout out in the next video. Orbital mirrors rotated, resolving the faint light of Coruscant's sun to erase the stars. Fire ships cross-hatched. The sky with contrails of chemical air scrubber, bleaching away the last reminders of the fires of days past. Shell remnants of night slid down the High Council Tower, the Jedi Temple, and within the cloistered chamber itself. Obi-Wan was still trying to talk them out of it. Yes, of course I trust him, he said valiantly. We can always trust Anakin to do what he thinks is right, but we can't trust him to do what he's told. He can't be made to simply obey. Believe me, I've been trying for many years. Conflicting currents of energy swirled and clashed in the council chamber. Traditionally, decisions of the council were reached by quiet, mutual contemplation of the flow of the Force, until all the council was of a single mind on the matter. But Obi-Wan knew of this tradition only by reputation, from tales in the archives and stories told by masters whose tenure on the council predicted the return of the Sith in the all too short years since Obi-Wan's own elevation. Argument in this chamber was more the rule than the exception. An unintentional opportunity the Chancellor has given us, Yoda said gravely. A window has opened to our operations of his office. Fools we would be to close our eyes. Then we should use someone else's eyes. Obi-Wan said, "Forgive me, Master Yoda, but you just don't know him the way I do. None of you does. He is fiercely loyal, and there's not a gram of deception in it. You've all seen it. It's one of the arguments that some of you here in this room have used against elevating him to master. He lacks true Jedi reserve. That's what you said, and by that we all mean that he wears his emotions like a holonet banner. How can you ask him to lie to a friend to spy upon him? This is why we must call upon a friend to ask him," said Agent Carlar in his gentle Zabrak baritone. You don't understand. Don't make him choose between me and Palpatine." "Why not?" asked the hollow presence of Plo Koon from the Bridge of Courageous, where he'd erected the Republic Navy strike force against the Separatist choke point in the Earth system. "Do you fear you would lose such a contest? You don't know how much Palpatine's friendship has meant to him over the years. You're asking him to use that friendship as a weapon to stab his friend in the back. Don't you understand what this will cost him? Even if Palpatine is entirely innocent, especially if he's innocent, the relationship will never be the same. And that, Mace Windu, may be the best argument in favor of this plan. I've told you all what I have seen of the energy between Skywalker and the Supreme Chancellor. Anything that might distance young Skywalker from Palpatine's influence is worth the attempt." Obi-Wan didn't need to reach into the Force to know that he would lose his argument. He inclined his head. "I will, of course, abide by the ruling of this council. Doubt of that none of us has." Yoda turned his green gaze on the other counselors. But if to be done this is decide how we must how best to use him." The hollow presence of Ki-Adi-Mundi flickered in and out of focus as the serene mass leaned forward, folding his hands. "I too have reservations on this matter, but it seems that in these desperate times, only desperate plans have hope of success. We have seen that young Skywalker has the power to battle as his lord alone, if need be. He has proven that with Dooku, if he is indeed the chosen one. We must keep him in play against the Sith, keep him in a position to fulfill his destiny. And even if the prophecy has been misread, Agent Caller added, and Anakin is the one Jedi we can best hope would survive an encounter with the Sith Lord. So let us also use him to help us set our trap in council. Let us emphasize that we are intensifying our search for Grievous. Anakin will certainly report this to the Chancellor's office. Perhaps, as you say, that will draw Sidious into action. It may not be enough, Mace Windu said. Let us take this one step farther. We should appear short-handed and weak, giving Sidious an opening to make a move. He thinks we'll go unobserved. I'm thinking that perhaps we should let the Chancellor's office know that Yoda and I have both been forced to take the field.
Too risky, that is, and too convenient. One of us only should go.
Then it should be you, Master Yoda, Agent Kolar said. Is it your sensitivity to the broader currents of the Force? Broader currents of the Force that a Sith Lord has most reason to fear. Obi-Wan felt the ripple of agreement flow through the chamber, and Yoda nodded solemnly. The Separatist attack on Kashyyyk a compelling excuse will make, and good relations with the Wookiees I have. I destroy
the drone armies I can, and still be available the course that should see us take our reach.
Agreed. Mace Windu looked around the half-empty council chamber with a deepening frown. And one last touch, let's let the Chancellor know, through Anakin, that our most cunning and insightful master and our most tenacious is to lead the hunt for Grievous. So Sidious wanted to act fast if the war is to be maintained, Plo Koon added approvingly. Yoda nodded judiciously.
Agreed.
Agent Caller assented as well, and Adi Mundi. This sounds like a good plan, Obi-Wan said. But what master do you have? But what master do you have in mind? For a moment, no one spoke, as though astonished he would ask such a question. Only after a few seconds, in which Obi-Wan looked from the faces of one master to the next, puzzled by the expressions of gentle amusement, each and every one of them wore, did it finally register that all of them were looking at him. Bail Organa stopped cold in the middle of the grand concourse that ringed the Senate's convocation chamber. The torrents of multi-species foot traffic that steamed along the huge curving hall that broke around him like a river around a boulder. He stared up in disbelief at one of the huge hollow projected proclamation boards. These had recently been installed above the concourse to keep the thousands of senators up to the moment on news of the war and on the Chancellor's latest executive orders. His heart tripped, and he couldn't seem to make his eyes focus. He pushed his way through the press to a hard copy stand and punched a quick code. When he had hit the flimsies in his hands, they still said the same thing. He'd been expecting this day since yesterday, when the Senate had voted to give Palpatine control of the Jedi. He'd known it would come soon. He'd even started planning for it, but that didn't make it any easier to hear. He found his way to a public comm booth and keyed a privacy code. The transparesteel booth went opaque a stone, and a moment later a hand-sized image shimmered into existence. Above the small holodisk, a slender woman in floor-length white, with short, neatly clipped auburn hair, and a clear, steadily intelligent gaze from her aquamarine eyes. "Bail," she said. "What's happened?" Bail's elegantly thin goatee pulled downward around his mouth. "Have you seen this morning's decree?" "The sector governance decree? Yes, I have. It's time, Mon," he said grimly. "It's time to stop talking and start doing. We have to bring in the Senate." "I agree, but we must tread carefully. Have you thought about whom we should consult, whom we can trust?" "Not in detail. Gideon Danu springs to mind." "I'm sure we can trust Fang's Czar, too. Agreed. What about Eridic Stalu? Her hearts are in the right place, or Chi Ikwe. Bale shook his head. Maybe later. It'll take a few hours at least to figure out exactly where they stand. We need to start with senators we know we can trust. Alright, then Tania would be my next choice, and I think Amidala of Naboo. Padme? Bale defend. I'm not sure. You know her better than I do, Bale, but to my mind, she is exactly the type of senator we need. She's intelligent, principled, extremely articulate, and has the heart of a warrior. She's also a long-time associate of Palpatine. He reminded her. He was her ambassador during her term as Queen of Naboo. How sure can you be that she will stand with us and not with him? Senator Mon Mothma replied serenely. There's only one way to find out. By the time the doors to the Jedi Council chamber finally swung open, Anakin was already angry. If asked, he would have denied it, and would have thought he was telling the truth. But they had left him out here for so long with nothing to do but stare through the soot-smudged curve of the High Council Tower's window ring at the scarred skyline of Galactic City, damaged in a battle he had won. By the way, personally, almost single-handedly, and with nothing to think about except why it was taking them so long to reach such a simple decision. Angry? Not at all. He was sure he wasn't angry. He kept telling himself he wasn't angry, and he made himself believe it. Anakin walked into the council chamber, head lowered in a show of humility and respect. Went down inside him, down around the nuclear shielding that banked his heart. He was hiding. It wasn't anger he was hiding. His anger was only camouflage. Behind his anger hid a dragon. He remembered too well the first time he had entered this chamber, the first time he had stood within a ring of Jedi Masters gathered to sit in judgment upon his fate. He remembered how Yoda's green stare had seen into his heart, had seen the cold worm of dread eating away at him, no matter how hard he tried to deny it. The awful fear he'd felt that he might never see his mother again. He couldn't let them see what that worm had grown into. He moved slowly into the center of the circle of brown-toned carpet, and turned toward the senior members. Yoda was unreadable as always, his rumpled features composed in a mask of serene contemplation. Mace Windu could have been carved from stone. Ghost images of Ki-Adi-Mundi and Plo Koon hovered a centimeter above their council seats, maintained by the seats' internal hollow projectors. Agen Kolar sat alone between the empty chairs belonging to Shakti and Stas Ali. Obi-Wan sat in a chair that once had belonged to Oppo Rankissis, looking pensive, even worried. Anakin Skywalker. Master Windu's tone was so severe that the dragon inside Anakin coiled instinctively. The council has decided to comply with Chancellor Palpatine's directive, and with the instructions of the Senate that give him the unprecedented authority to command his council, you are hereby granted a seat at the High Council of the Jedi as his personal representative. Anakin stood very still for a long moment until he could be absolutely sure he had heard what he thought he'd heard. Palpatine had been right. He seemed to be right about a lot of things these days. In fact, now that Anakin came to think of it, he couldn't remember a single instance where the Supreme Chancellor had been wrong. Finally, as it began to sink in upon him, as he gradually allowed himself to understand that the council had finally decided to grant him his heart's desire, that they finally had recognized his accomplishments, his dedication, his power, he took a slow, deep breath. Thank you, Masters. You have my pledge that I will uphold the highest principles of the Jedi Order.
Allow this appointment, lady. The council does not.
Yoda's ears curled forward at Anakin like accusing fingers.
Disturbing is this move by Chancellor Palpatine on many levels.
They have become more concerned with avoiding oversight of the Senate than they are with winning the war. Anakin inclined his head. I understand. I'm not sure you do. Mace Windu leaned forward, staring into Anakin's eyes, with a measuring squint, was already leaving the council chamber. Riding the turbo lift to the archives demanding access to the restricted vault by authority of his new rank. You will attend the meetings of this council, the Co-Run Master said, but you will not be granted the rank and privileges of a Jedi Master. What? It was a small word, a simple word, an instinctive recoil from words that felt like punches, like stun blasts exploding inside his brain that left his head ringing and the room spinning around him. But even to his own ears, the voice that came from his lips didn't sound like his own. It was deeper, darker, clipped and oiled, resonating from the depths of his heart. It didn't sound like him at all, and it smoked with fury. How dare you! How dare you! Anakin stood welded to the floor, motionless. He wasn't even truly aware of speaking. It was as if someone else were using his mouth, and now finally he recognized the voice. It sounded like Dooku, but it was not Dooku's voice. It was the voice of Dooku's destroyer. No Jedi in this room can match my power. No Jedi in the galaxy. You think you can deny mastery to me?
A Chancellor representative you are,
Yoda said. And
as representative, you shall attend the council. Sit in the chamber you will, but no vote you will have. A chancellor's views you shall present. His wishes, his ideas, his directives, not your own.
And from the depths of his furnace heart came an answer so far transcending fury that it sounded cold, as in interstellar space. This is an insult to me and to the Chancellor. Do not imagine that it will be tolerated. Mace Windu's eyes were as cold as the voice from Anakin's mouth. Take your seat, young Skywalker. Anakin matched his stare. Perhaps I'll take yours. His own voice inside his head had a hot black fire that smoked from the depths of his furnace heart. You think you can stop me from saving my love? You think you can watch her die? Go ahead and vapid this, you. Anakin, Obi-Wan said softly. He gestured to an empty seat behind him. Please. And something in Obi-Wan's gentle smile, and Gentle's voice, and his simple, straightforward request sent his anger slinking off. Ashamed, Anakin found himself alone on the carpet in the middle of the Jedi Council, blinking. He suddenly felt very young and very foolish. Forgive me, masters. His bow of contrition couldn't hide the blaze of embarrassment that climbed his cheeks. The rest of the session passed in a haze. Ki-Adi-Mundi said something about no Republic world reporting any Senate Grievous. Anakin felt a dull shock when the council assigned the task of coordinating the search to Obi-Wan alone. On top of everything else, now they were splitting up the team. He was so numbly astonished by it all that he barely registered what they were saying about a droid landing on Kashyyyk, but he had to say something. He couldn't just sit here for his whole first meeting of the council, master or not, and he knew the Kashyyyk system almost as well as he knew the back alleys of Mos Espa. I can handle it, he offered, suddenly brightening. I could clear that planet in a day or two. Skywalker, your assignment is here. Mace Windu's stare was hard as durasteel, and only a scrape short of openly hostile. Then Yoda volunteered, and for some reason the council didn't even bother to vote. It is settled then, Mace said. May the Force be with us all. And as the hollow presences of Plo Koon and Ki-Adi-Mundi winked out, as Obi-Wan and Agen-Kola rose and spoke together in tones softly grave, as Yoda and Mace Windu walked from the room, Anakin could only sit, sick at heart, stunned with helplessness. Padme, oh Padme, what are we gonna do? He didn't know. He didn't have a clue, but he knew one thing he wasn't going to do. He wasn't going to give up, even with the order against him, even with a whole order against him. He could find a way. He would save her somehow. I'm no happier than the rest Stevie are about this, Padme said, gesturing at the flimsy blast of the sector governance decree on Bail Organa's desk. But I've known Palpatine for years. He was my most trusted advisor. I'm not prepared to believe his intent is to dismantle the Senate. Why should he bother? Mon Mothma countered. As a practical matter, as of this, morning, the Senate no longer exists. Padme looked from one grim face to another. Gideon Danu nodded his agreement. Tennille kept her eyes down, pretending to be adjusting her robes. Fengzar ran a hand over his unruly, gray-streaked top knot. Vale leaned forward. His eyes were hard as chips of stone. Palpatine no longer has to worry about controlling the Senate by placing his own lackeys as governors over every planet in the Republic. He controls our systems directly. He folds his hands and squeezes them together until his knuckles hurt. He has become a dictator. We made him a dictator. And he's my husband's friend and mentor. Padme thought, I shouldn't even be listening to this. But what can we do about it? Tennille asked, still gazing down at her robe with a worried frown. That's what we asked you here to discuss, Mon Mothma told her calmly. What we're going to do about it. Fengzar shifted uncomfortably. I'm not sure I like where this is going. None of us likes where anything is going, Bale said, half rising. That's exactly the point. We can't let 1,000 years of democracy disappear without a fight. A fight, Padme said. I can't believe what I'm hearing, Bale. You sound like a separatist. Bale sank back into his seat. I apologize. That was not my intent. I asked you all here because of all the senators in the galaxy. You four have been the most consistent and influential voices of reason and restraint, doing all you could do to preserve our poor, tattered constitution. We don't want to hurt the Republic. With your help, we hope to save it. It has become increasingly clear. Mon Mothma said that Palpatine has become an enemy of democracy. He must be stopped. The Senate gave him these powers, Padme said. The Senate can rein him in. Gideon Danu sat forward. I fear you underestimate just how deeply the Senate's corruption has taken hold. Who will vote against Palpatine now? I will, Padme said. She discovered that she meant it, and I'll find others too. She'd have to, no matter how much it hurt Anakin. Oh, my love, how will you ever find a way to forgive me? You do that, Belle said. Make as much noise as you can. Keep Palpatine watching what you're doing in the Senate. That should provide some cover while Mon Mothma and I begin building our organization. Stop, Padme rose. It's better to leave some things unsaid. Right now it's better I don't know anything about anything. Don't make me lie to my husband, was her unspoken plea. She tried to convey it with her eyes. Please, Belle, don't make me lie to him. It will break his heart. Perhaps he saw something there. After a moment's indecision, he nodded. Very well. Other matters can be left for other times. Until then, this meeting must remain absolutely secret. Even hinting at an effective opposition to Palpatine can be, as we've all seen, very dangerous. We must agree never to speak of these matters except among the people who are now in this room. We must bring no one into the secret without the agreement of each and every one of us. That includes even those closest to you, Mon Mothma added, even your families, to share anything of this. Expose them to the same danger we all face. No one could be told. No one. Having watched them all nod, and what could she do? What could she say? You can keep your own secrets, but I'll have to tell my Jedi husband, who is Palpatine's beloved protege. She sighed. Yes, agreed. And all she could think as the little group dispersed to their own offices was, oh, Anakin, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Anakin was glad the vast vaulted temple hallway was deserted, save for him and Obi-Wan. He didn't have to keep his voice down. This is outrageous. How can they do this? How can they not? Obi-Wan countered. It's your friendship with the Chancellor, the same friendship that got you a seat at the council, that makes it impossible to grant you mastery in the council's eyes. That would be the same as giving a vote to Palpatine himself. He waved this off. He didn't have time for the council's political maneuvering. Padme didn't have time. I didn't ask for this. I don't need this. So if I wasn't friends with Palpatine, I'd be a master already, is what you were saying. Obi-Wan looked pained. I don't know. I have the power of any 5 masters, any 10. You know it, and so do they. Power alone is no credit to you. Anakin flung an arm back toward the council tower. They're the ones who call me the chosen one. Chosen for what? To be a dupe in some slimy political game? Obi-Wan winced as if he'd been stung. Didn't I warn you, Anakin? I told you of the tension between the council and the chancellor. I was very clear. Why didn't you listen? You walked right into it. Like that racial trap. Anakin started. Should I blame this on the dark side too? However it happened, Obi-Wan said, you are in a very delicate situation. What situation? Who cares about me? I'm no master. I'm just a kid, right? Is that what it's about? Is Master Windu turning everyone against me because until I came along, he was the youngest Jedi ever named to the council? No one cares about that. Sure they don't. Just tell me. Let me tell you something. A smart old man said to me not so long ago, age is no measure of wisdom. If it were Yoda, Yoda would be 20 times as wise as you are. This has nothing to do with Master Yoda. That's right, it has to do with me. It has to do with them all being against me. They always have been. Most of them didn't even want me to be a Jedi. And if they'd won out, where would they be now? Who would have done the things I've done? Who would have saved Naboo? Who would have saved Kamino? Who would have killed Dooku and rescued the Chancellor? Who would have came for you and Alpha after Ventress? Yes, Anakin, yes, of course. No one questions your accomplishments. It's your relationship to Palpatine that is the problem, and it is a very serious problem. I'm too close to him. Maybe I am. Maybe I should alienate a man who's been nothing but kind and generous to me ever since I came to this planet. Maybe I should reject the only man who gives me the respect I deserve. Anakin, stop. Listen to yourself. Your thoughts of jealousy and pride. These are dark thoughts, Anakin. Dangerous thoughts. In these dark times, you are focused on yourself when you need to focus on your service. A burst in the council was an eloquent argument against granting you mastery. How can you be a Jedi Master when you have not mastered yourself? Anakin passed his flesh hand over his eyes and drew a long, heavy breath in a much lower, calmer, quieter tone. He said, what do I have to do? Obi-Wan frowned. I'm sorry. They want something from me, don't they? That's what this is really about. That's what it's been about from the beginning. They won't give me my rank until I give them what they want. The council doesn't operate that way, Anakin, and you know it. Once you're a master, as you deserve, how will they make you do their bidding? Yes, I know it. Sure I do, Anakin said. Suddenly he was tired, so incredibly tired it hurt to talk. It hurt even to stand here. He was sick of the whole business. Why couldn't it just be over? Tell me what they want. Obi-Wan's eyes shifted, and the sick fatigue in Anakin's guts turned darker. How bad did it have to be to make Obi-Wan unable to look him in the eye? Anakin, look, I'm on your side, Obi-Wan said softly. He never looked tired, too. He looked as tired and sick as Anakin felt. I never wanted to see you put in this situation. What situation? Still, everyone hesitated. Anakin said, look, whatever it is, it's not getting any better. While you're standing here working up to nerve to tell me. Come on, Obi-Wan, let's have it. Obi-Wan glanced around the empty halls as if he wanted to make sure they were still alone. Anakin had a feeling it was just an excuse to avoid facing him when he spoke. The council, Obi-Wan said slowly, approved your appointment because Palpatine trusts you. They want you to report on all his dealings. You have to know what he's up to. They want you to spy on the Supreme Chancellor of the Republic. Anakin blinked numbly. No wonder Obi-Wan couldn't look him in the face. Obi-Wan, that's treason. We are at war, Anakin. Obi-Wan looked thoroughly miserable. That the council is sworn to uphold the principles of the Republic through any means necessary. We have to. Especially when the greatest enemy of those principles seems to be the Chancellor himself. Anakin's eyes narrowed and turned hard. Why didn't the council give me the assignment while we were in session? Because it's not for the record, Anakin. You must be able to understand why. What I understand, Anakin said grimly, is that you are trying to turn me against Palpatine. You're trying to make me keep secrets from him and want to make me lie to him. That's what this is really about. Isn't it? Everyone insisted. He looks wounded. It's about keeping an eye on who he deals with and who he deals with him. He's not a bad man, Obi-Wan. He's a great man who's holding the Republic together with his bare hands. By staying in office long after his term has expired, by gathering dictatorial powers. The Senate demanded that he stay. They pushed those powers on him. Don't be naive. The Senate is so intimidated they give him anything he wants, then it's their fault, not his. They should have the guts to stand. They should have the guts to stand up to him. That is not what we're asking you to do, Anakin. Anakin had no answer. Silence fell between them like a hammer. He shook his head and looked down at the fist he had made of his mechanical hand. Finally he said, "He's my friend, Obi-Wan." "Yes," Obi-Wan said softly, sadly. "I know. If he asked me to spy on you, do you think I would do it?" Now Obi-Wan turned to fall silent. "You know how kind he has been to me." Anakin's voice was hushed. You know, he's looked after me. How he's done everything he could to help me. He's like family." "The Jedi are your family?" "No." Anakin turned on his former master. "No, the Jedi are your family, the only one you've ever known. But I'm not like you. I had a mother who loved me, and a wife who loves me," he thought, "and soon a child who will love me too. Do you remember my mother? Do you remember what happened to her? Because you didn't let me go to save her?" He finished it silently. "And the same will happen to Padme, and the same will happen to our child." Within him, the dragon's cold whisper chewed at his strength. "All things die, Anakin Skywalker. Even stars burn out." "Anakin, yes, of course. You know how sorry I am for your mother. Listen, we're not asking you to act against Palpatine. We're only asking you to monitor his activities. You must believe me." Obi-Wan stepped closer and put a hand on Anakin's arm. With a long, slowly indrawn breath, he seemed to reach some difficult decision. "Palpatine himself may be in danger," he said. "This may be the only way you can help." "What are you talking about?" "I'm not supposed to be telling you this. Please do not reveal we have had this conversation to anyone. Do you understand?" Anakin said, "I can keep a secret." "All right." Obi-Wan took another deep breath. Master, when did trace Star Cities to 500 Republica before Grievous's attack? We think that the Sith Lord is someone within Palpatine's closest circle of advisors. That is who we want you to spy on. Do you understand? A fiction created by the Jedi Council, an excuse to harass their political enemies. If Palpatine is under the influence of a Sith Lord, he may be in grievous danger. The only way we can help him is to find Sidious and to stop him. What we are asking of you is not treason, Anakin. It may be the only way to save the Republic. If the Star Cities of yours were to walk through that door right now, I would ask him to sit down, and I would ask him if he has any power he could use to end this war." So all you're really asking," Anakin said slowly, "is for me to help the Council find Darth Sidious." "Yes." Obi-Wan looked relieved, incredibly relieved, as though some horrible chronic pain had suddenly and inexplicably eased. "Yes, that's exactly it. That's it, exactly." Locked within the furnace of his heart, Anakin whispered an echo, not quite an echo, slightly altered. Just at the end, I would ask him, sit down, I would ask him if he has any power he could use to save Padme. The gunship streaked through the capital sky. Obi-Wan stared past Yoda and Mace Windu, out through the gunship's window at the vast deployment platform and the swarm of clones who were loading the assault cruiser at the far end. "He went there," he said. "You didn't see his face. I think we have done a terrible thing." "We don't always have the right answer," Mace Windu said. "Sometimes there isn't a right answer." "Know how important your friendship with the young Anakin is to you?" "I do." Yoda, too, stared out toward the dark angles of the assault cruiser being loaded for the counter-invasion of Kashyyyk. He stood leaning on his Geimer stick as though he did not trust his legs.
Allow such attachments to pass. Out of one's life, a Jedi must."
Another man, even another Jedi, might have resented the rebuke, but Obi-Wan only sighed. "I suppose he is the chosen one after all. The prophecy says he was born to bring balance to the Force," but the words trailed off. He couldn't remember what he'd been about to say. All he could remember was the look on Anakin's face. "Yes."
"Yes. Always in motion the future is."
Yoda lifted his head, and his eyes narrowed to thoughtful slits, and
"And the prophecy misread it could have been."
Mace looked even grimmer than usual. Since the fall of Darth Bane more than a millennium ago, there have been hundreds of thousands of Jedi feeding the light with each work of their hands with each breath, with every beat of their hearts, bringing justice, building civil society, radiating peace, acting out of selfless love for all living things. And in all these 1,000 years, there have been only 2 Sith at any time. Only 2. Jedi create light, but the Sith do not create. But the Sith do not create darkness. They merely use the darkness that is always there, that has always been there: greed and jealousy, aggression and lust and fear. These are all natural sentient beings, the legacy of the jungle, or inheritance from the dark. I'm sorry, must do and do, but I'm not sure I follow you. Are you saying, to follow your metaphor, that Jedi have cast too much light? From what I have seen these past years, the galaxy has not become all that bright a place. All I'm saying is that we don't know. We don't even truly understand what it means to bring balance to the Force. We have no way of anticipating what this may involve.
Infinite mystery is the Force.
Yoda said softly.
The more we learn, the more we discover how much we do not know.
So you both feel it too, Obi-Wan said. The words hurt him. You both can feel that we have turned in some invisible corner. In motion
Are the events of our time approached the crisis does?
Yes. And he laced his fingers and squeezed until his knuckles popped. But we are in a spice mine without a glow rod. If we stop walking, we'll never reach the light. And what if the light just isn't there? Obi-Wan asked. What if we get to the end of this tunnel and find only night?
Faith we must have. Trust in the will of the Force. What other choices there?
Obi-Wan accepted this with a nod, but still, when he thought of Anakin, dread began to curdle below his heart. I should have argued more strongly in council today. You think Skywalker won't be able to handle this, Mace Windu said. I thought you had more confidence in his abilities. I trust him with my life, Obi-Wan said simply, and that is precisely the problem. The other 2 Jedi Masters watched him silently while he tried to summon the proper words. For Anakin, Obi-Wan said at length, there is nothing more important than friendship. He is the most loyal man I have ever met, loyal behind reason. In fact, despite all I have ever tried to teach him about sacrifices that are the heart of being a Jedi, he will never, I think, truly understand. He looked over at Yoda. Master Yoda, you and I have been close since I was a boy, an infant. Yet if ending this war 1 week sooner one day were to require that I sacrifice your life, you know I would.
As you should, he said. And I say with yours, young Obi-Wan. Any Jedi would any other in the cause of peace.
Any Jedi, Obi-Wan said, except Anakin. Yoda and Mace exchanged glances, both thoughtfully grim. Obi-Wan guessed that they were remembering the times Anakin had violated orders, the times he had put at risk entire operations, the lives of thousands, the control of whole planetary systems to save a friend. More than once, in fact, to save Obi-Wan. I think, Obi-Wan said carefully, that abstractions like peace don't mean much to him. He's loyal to people, not to principles, and he expects loyalty in return. He will stop at nothing to save me, for example, because he thinks I would do the same for him. Mace and Yoda gazed at him steadily, and Obi-Wan had to lower his head, because he admitted reluctantly, he knows I would do the same for him.
I understand exactly where your concern lies. I do not.
Yoda's green eyes had gone softly sympathetic.
Named Master Fury, before banish it you can do. Do you fear that before Miss Task you cannot?
Oh no, that's not it at all. I'm firmly convinced that Anakin could do anything except betray a friend. What we have done to him today. But that is what Jedi are, Mace Windu said. That is what we have pledged ourselves to, selfless service. Obi-Wan turned to stare once more toward the assault ship that would carry Yoda and the clone battalions to Kashyyyk, but he could see only Anakin's face. If he asked me to spy on you, do you think I would do it? Yes, he said slowly. That's why I think. That's why I don't think he would ever trust us again. He found his eyes turning accountably hot, and his vision swam with unshed tears, and I'm not entirely sure he should. And that is the end of this chapter. This one was a good one. I thought it was very good, and it makes me just honestly just like understand these characters and how Anakin, I can understand Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan does care about Anakin. Obi-Wan does. He's and he tries to explain to the council what he's trying to tell them. Anakin cannot. Anakin. He tries to tell the council that Anakin is loyal to everybody, and he expects loyalty in return, which a lot of people do. I mean, I expect loyalty in return when I'm loyal to people. Like, I've been loyal too. That's why I can relate to all these characters, and why a lot of people like these movies and books, is because they can relate to the characters in it. I relate strongly to Anakin Skywalker. I relate strongly to Luke Skywalker, and I also relate strongly to a lot of I relate to Padme and Leia. I relate to all these characters because it's like, I mean, that's what they are. They're just relatable characters. I think the fact that Anakin is dark side is just keeps on like splurging out. He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know what's happening. He doesn't know what's going on. He has no control over it. That's why I think Anakin, when he first turns to the dark side, would lose to Darth Vader in A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back, because because that's peak Vader is A New Hope. After that, he's just completely conflicted. But that's peak Vader is A New Hope Vader. He would destroy peak Anakin in a lightsaber fight and just fights in general. He would win. And I think that was a great chapter to really show Obi-Wan is also loyal to Anakin. He would also do the same for Anakin. He would risk the lives of others to save Anakin, to save a friend, because they're loyal. And I love that about them, and that's what I love about them being a duo, and that's what I loved about the Clone Wars, is Anakin and Obi-Wan. The Anakin and Obi-Wan episodes were my favorites. Other than the Ahsoka episodes, my favorites were Anakin and Obi-Wan, Ahsoka. I also like the youngling episodes becoming Padawans. That's really good episode. It's a really good arc. But that's it for today. That's all I have time for to do today. It is kind of really late at night, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.